Okay, so I'm just walking through setting up and running AWS Workspaces. Context is an education provider. I'm working with the Developer Academy a little bit and looking at an alternative to running VMs directly and as student workstations. Workspaces is AWS kind of hosted desktop as a service solution, which I started looking at a little while ago. The question is, how does the user experience on here differ to that on a VM, and how do we get the software installed in the workspace or desktop environments ready for a student to undertake the coursework. So the first thing to note is that there's a directory, there's a CloudFormation template that's deployed a directory, using AWS SimpleAD here in the Ireland region, as opposed instead of Microsoft full Active Directory. It's cheaper and simpler, and as we're using Linux workspaces, we only really need a directory for logins for people anyway. So that's there. The rest of the setup, which I can go through another time, we have a normal sort of virtual private cloud, public and private subnets. The workspaces are deployed into the private subnets. In the public subnets, there are NAT gateways, which the workspaces use to get access to the internet without being accessible from the internet. And that's basically it. It's pretty straightforward. So the first thing I'm going to do is launch a new workspace for myself. If I can find my pointer, there we go. So there's the directory. So I'm in the workspaces part of the AWS console here. So let's create a user called student. Next step, we'll give them a performance machine, because that gives us 8 gigs of memory, a couple of virtual CPUs, and plenty of disk space. 8 gigs is needed to complete the course material, so we'll go with that one. Notice English US is the only language option here. We'll deal with that later. So we are performance on Amazon Linux 2 for the student user. Down to the bottom, hit next step. Auto stop, so this is first kind of key new feature. We can set these workspaces up to automatically suspend after a certain amount of hours not in use, which, given the usage profile of these machines, that should be quite a significant sort of saving, not having these machines running all the time. So auto stop time of 1 hour seems like a pretty sensible place to start there. Not going to do anything about encrypting storage volumes, but of course we can do that. In fact, actually I've not done that before, so let's just do that. We could of course use a different key in the key management service if we wanted to use our own key, and we can tag this workspace so that we could find it in the various sort of query interfaces in AWS. So this is fine. It's not eligible for the free tier because it's not the smallest instance type. Auto stop time after an hour. Encrypting root and user volumes with that encryption key. I don't think there's too much interesting stuff happening under there. Launch. Okay, and the workspace is now showing as available. That took about, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe. Not too bad. Doesn't really matter because this would be done before the course starts anyway. Okay, so what we can do from here, so we have the option of inviting the user, so let's do that right now. So there's basically links for the user to kind of register, create a little button to create passwords, stuff like that. So that's all fine. We'll just let it send the default invite. Okay, so in terms of admin actions, we've got the option to reboot the workspace. We can stop the workspace, start it if it's stopped, rebuild or restore the workspace from a snapshot, remove the workspace, modify certain settings for the workspace, create an image from this workspace. I think the running man properties are basically, auto stop or always on, so we can flip that from here. I think it's modify workspace. Yeah, we can modify the kind of the runtime parameters of the workspace, basically. So you got. I think there's more useful controls here, easier to interact with than dealing with EC2 instances directly on the EC2 instance page. Okay, so I just invited this user or me. That email came through for me straight away. This is what the student receives. A link to set up their profile. So let's do that. So here we go. Basically prompts me to create a password for my new workspace. There we go. And now I can log in. So I can download a client. So obviously we recommend use a password manager to look after these credentials for the students and for any administrators with workspaces. Web access, I should point out, doesn't work on Linux workspaces, which is a real shame. But no, the web access isn't an option. That would have been nice as a backup. I've already got a Linux client installed on this machine, but you can see there's clients for pretty much anything there might need to be. Need the registration code. So that was certainly present in the email that I got. Let's grab that. And I'm ready to sign in. There we go. Just a little bit fiddly because I put a special character on the end, but that wasn't what was in my clipboard. So there, this is the desktop that I see. So it's a pretty fairly basic, sort of familiar desktop for most people. And that's the registration sign-up process.